Hi, everybody. Welcome back to my knitting podcast. My name is Tommy. I mostly like to knit, but I also crochet a bit. But that's not really relevant information because I haven't crocheted in a long time. Although, I do have one crochet project that I set down a long time ago that maybe I can show today because there's not that much to show today, but I'm getting ahead of myself. Um, anyway, thank you guys for coming and returning, or if you're new, hello. And I have my coffee because I just woke up, and so you can grab a beverage and join in sipping or knit while you watch, and let's get started. So, I haven't been doing that much since we last checked in because I've been moving, and so that's a whip in itself. I have done some DIYs around my apartment. I did some peel and stick tile, I hung curtains, and the physical labor of moving. It was all kind of a lot, so I haven't been knitting as much. I've also kind of been generally losing my knitting motivation a little bit, um, which leads me into talking about my finished object, which is my halibut sweater. I'm gonna insert right here. I made a TikTok talking about all of my modification. Hey guys, so my halibut sweater is now blocked and dry. So I'm gonna walk you through all of the modifications that I made on my halibut sweater so that you can follow it too if you want to. To start, I will share that I knit size 4. I was using Germantown DK yarns from Kelbourne Woolens. This is the color 340 Sage, and this color is 105 Natural. I met gauge in the pattern, so the neck and the cuffs are on US 5 needles and the body is on US 6 needles. I ended up using 4 whole skeins of my main color. There's 64 grams left of my 5th one, and I used less than 1 skein of the contrast color. There is 15 grams left of this. My first modification was in the collar. I used the stitch count for my size in the halibut sweater, and then I used the collar chart from the autumn alpine sweater to get this design. After the collar, I just followed the pattern as written through the chart. I think I might have added 1 extra round in the yoke, but that wasn't on purpose if I did. That was because if you've been following, you know that I ripped out a bunch of it and redid the split for sleeves at one point, and I think in that process I might have lost count of rounds and maybe added an extra round, but I am happy with the yoke depth on this. When it came to split for the sleeves and body, I did completely start ignoring the pattern, so from here on it no longer matches the pattern. And again, these numbers are for size 4. So from the back, I knit 53 stitches, and then I put 87 stitches on hold. I cast on 19 underarm stitches, and then I knit 106 stitches for the front, cast on 19 underarm stitches, put 87 stitches on hold, and then 53 stitches to get back to beginning of round in the center back. I think that I ended up moving my center of round to my underarm after that. I don't know if it says that in the pattern or not. For the body, I knit straight until I reached the hem, and I decreased by 42 stitches before the hem. I followed the autumn alpine hem chart, but I did not do rounds 24 through 26. And then I did 2 rounds of 1x1 ribbing before I cast off an Icelandic bind off. And that was my body modifications. I already did a more in-depth tutorial on this part of my arm modification on a video earlier in this playlist. But basically, I picked up 21 stitches because I picked up the 19 that I cast on, plus 1 on each corner to try and avoid getting a hole. I then had 108 stitches. I decreased every 3 rounds from both sides of the pickup until I had no more left to decrease. I think it was 18 stitches total decreased. And then every 8 rounds, I decreased again
just in the center, and I did that 7 more times. I ended up with 76 stitches by the end of my decreases. And I knit down until I was ready to do the cuff. Right before the cuff, I decreased out 12 stitches, and then I did the autumn alpine hem chart again, but I did not do rounds 24 through 26. I added 2 rounds of 1x1 rib, and I did an Icelandic bind off, and that is the same for both sleeves.
So this is my halibut sweater. I am not the biggest fan of it. I think that ultimately it taught me a lot about like needing burnout, I guess, just because I was forcing myself to finish it pretty quickly. And my usual knitting process is very much like phases of projects and not try to finish it all at once. On this sweater, I tried to finish it all at once, and I think it meant that I was just working on it for too long. And it means that I'm not like super happy with this end result. It is growing on me with time, just because the longer I don't wear it or look at it, the nicer it becomes to me. Because honestly, I've only worn it like once since I finished it 2 weeks ago. Anyway, I'm gonna set it to the side for a while, and hopefully by the fall, I like it again. Although, I will say it worked up to be like pretty lightweight, so I think that I could wear this on like a chilly summer night. But we'll see. Um, my feelings about this sweater have nothing to do with the yarn. In fact, I really like this yarn, and I will absolutely be knitting something with Germantown DK again in the future. So I recommend checking out Kelbourne Woolens yarn if you haven't before. I have an affiliate link in my bio. If you do decide to shop, it would be really great if you could use that link. So that was my finished object. I'm going to start showing you guys my whips now. To be honest, I'm having a really hard time remembering what I was working on last time. I know the halibut sweater was the main thing, and I think maybe my legs tee, but honestly, I haven't made that much progress on my legs tee, and instead I've cast on another pretty hat. This is in Juniper Moon Yarns Moonshine Fine. I don't remember what color this is, and I've lost the label. Again, moving. I have no idea where it ended up. But this is what I'm at. This is where I'm at. I just finished the brim fold process, and then I just did the turn. And this is my own pattern, pretty hat. I'm really excited because I think this color is really beautiful. I'm making the larger size this time because last time that I made it for myself, I made the smaller size. So I figure I should have a larger size too, especially because this yarn is kind of pushing the thickness of like the gauge. So I chose to go for the larger size just because it will probably be a little bit smaller anyway, just because the yarn is a little thicker. Um, and let's see. I'm using Addy squared needles, which I've never tried before, but I'm really liking how they're working. It kind of is like a fun little texture in it, and I feel like in stockinette it will be even better. I think I do kind of I am kind of scheming to make another hat pattern that's stockinette with the 6-point decrease, but that's maybe later down the line. For now, I'm working on this pretty hat. I feel like I'm gonna finish this before the next time I make a video, so maybe in my next podcast I'll be wearing pretty hat. And I'm really excited. I think that projects like this are just kind of like the perfect moving project because it's pretty mindless, it's small, and I'm able to keep this separate from all my other stuff pretty easily. And then also, like at work, I have been doing like a fieldwork role recently, and it's really easy to bring this with me. And when I have downtime, I can sit on the side and knit a little bit. So, pretty hat. And once I finish this, I'll probably cast on another hat of some kind. I've been on an accessory kick, which is very different for me because I feel like before the end of last year slash this year, I like had never really knit beanies before. Like I'd made one or two for my friend, because she wore a lot of beanies, but I never really used to be a beanie wearer. But Pretty Hat has converted me, to be honest. Like it really truly is the most comfortable hat that I've ever worn. And my main review of most beanies is that they make my head itchy, which I don't know if that's just a me thing, but I feel like it makes my scalp suffocate. But I feel like in this pattern, the rib means that it's not so tight, so it doesn't make me feel like I'm suffocating, and therefore I reach for it a lot more just because I find that sensation to be really unpleasant in most other hats. My next project that I want to talk about, I'm storing in this beautiful bag that Kelbourne Woolens gave to me. They actually, I don't know if I mentioned this before, but the yarn that I used to make my halibut sweater was gifted by Kelbourne Woolens because they were releasing Germantown DK and they reached out to me. And that was really honestly, every time that they reach out offering to send me yarn, it's like, what? Really, me? Anyway, they sent this cute little bag and I've been using it to store this project. And that is the Chantal collar cardigan by Moreca Knit. Currently, we don't really have much to show. Let me see if I can even really accomplish showing. Basically, this part is going to be the collar. So this part down here is like the collar band that goes around. And then this part up here is the collar itself and it like folds back. I don't know if you guys can really visualize collar band. I'm using Cascade 220 fingering, and this is in the color 8012. And then this is Valley Yarns Alpaca Silk in the color Fawn. I got both of these on yarn.com because this was on sale, and this is the best price for alpaca silk that I've ever seen in my life. This is my first time ever ordering yarn online, and honestly, I don't know if I'd do it again. I think that I don't have the skill set to do it very well because I'm not like so certain about this yarn combination that I've ended up with. I guess we'll see because there's really not much to base it on yet. I did make a swatch, but I've torn it out, so I can't show you. But yeah, this project currently is on 3mm needles, and then the body is on US 7, which I think is 4.5mm. And it's that cool like slip stitch rib stockinette, whatever it's called, texture. Um, This pattern is rated expert on the pattern, and honestly, you guys, I'm kind of thinking it might be true. It's been a long time since I've struggled with the knitting pattern, and it's not because the pattern is written poorly, it's just because the techniques are things that I haven't seen before, and it's really fun learning new things. So on this sweater so far, or on this cardigan so far, I learned Judy's Magic Cast On, which is like where the collar band started. And then I've never actually done double knitting before, which kind of sounds crazy. But this collar thing is double knit, which on 3mm needles with, I think my gauge might be slightly thicker than what the pattern is calling for because I am struggling. Unless double knitting is always this bad and you guys are just not sharing your struggle, in which case I feel like I need to just avoid double knitting in the future. um it's like, I don't know, it's kind of just a lot on my hands and there's a lot more of this color to go, and that's why this project is going so slow. Also because I looked ahead in the pattern and the construction method for this is like more complicated than any other project I've ever done, and I'm a little bit intimidated but also I think that means that it will be like really, really well tailored fit because the pictures of this pattern are so beautiful. I really need this product. So I'm trying to get myself to get through this. What I'll do, or I only cast this on like a week or two ago. So what I've been trying to do is like every so often when I have the time to finish one of these double knit rows, which let's be clear, it takes a while because this is like 200 something stitches. I'll like finish one row and then I'll do some pretty hat and then do another row and then I'll do some pretty hat. And then that's been kind of making the progress happen, but not very quickly as you can see. Um I I'm all over the place today. I'm sorry you guys. I don't even know where I was headed with this. Um well, I guess I'll just say that this has actually been a really great experience with learning a few new techniques, and I'm really excited to see how this ends up. Okay guys, now for my final whip. This project is a self-drafted sweater. It's gone through a lot of iterations, and I think I finally found one that's gonna stick, kind of. I'll talk about it. This is the vibe. Also, I didn't say this earlier, but ignore my nails. I'm, again, as I said, I've been moving, and so they just look ridiculous right now. But anyway, this swatch is the vibe of the sweater. It's gonna be stars. It's gonna be beautiful. Nighttime. Blue. Anyway, this yarn is Germantown from Kelbourne Woolens. This one is Cascade 220. I think in the last video, I had just bought this yarn to go with this because I had just been theorizing about this sweater. But now I have a swatch. I've started it. This is like my 5th try. I've now started doing a colorwork chart that I had drafted up. But what I'm realizing is that I think that I want to rip this back, just knit it in plain blue, and then duplicate stitch my pattern over it because I tried making my chart like filling in a lot of the blank space to just avoid having really long floats, but honestly, I'm not really liking it as much, and I think that it would be better to just duplicate stitch later. I've been really toying with how I wanted to do the color work because I wanted to do this in the round construction, but then my color work chart idea is very much like it should be in tarja. So that's why I think I'm gonna duplicate stitch. Um, so the way that this sweater is constructed so far, I started knitting flat and then I went back and forth to do my neckline shaping. And then I joined into the round by casting on my neckline stitches. Um, I'm doing this interesting little pattern at the shoulders. So we have a shoulder saddle, and then I'm trying something new with the increases so that there's the increase line, which I don't know if you guys knew this, but if you increase on one side of a stitch every round, it creates like a straight line saddle. So that's kind of like the basis of this. But then I also am trying something different of doing like an increase next to a decrease next to the increase to like emphasize that shaping. I haven't actually tried this on yet because I'm afraid. um, and this is not going to be the moment when I do because if it doesn't work out, I might crumble just because it's kind of been a lot going on in this. But this is where it's at right now. I do think I am gonna rip this back. I mean, I've only done 3 rounds of this chart, and I'm already like, So I think I will just go in and do it plain and duplicate stitch because I do think that that will be the best. I'm also I've been learning a lot with this. And so one of the things that I was experimenting a lot with is casting on with the collar versus casting on and picking up the collar later. And I think that what I've determined for this is that I am not ready to conquer casting on with the collar yet because getting that stitch count right and then getting to the right stitch count for whatever you want the start of your body to be is like it was hurting my brain and I just got it wrong too many times. So I'm doing this and then I can just pick up my stitches at a rate that gets me this small collar that I want. Because basically, I just kept ending up with too big of a collar, which I think this sweater also suffers from. It like sits a little bit too wide on me, so I want it to be like a little bit more fitted up. I don't know exactly what I want to do yet. I think I kind of want to do like I have a Lopi sweater, which is not next to me, so I can't really show you. Actually, let me get it. Okay, I have this Lopi sweater, and it has this fun little like one by one rib into stockinette roll. And I think that I am gonna use this on my sweater, which I don't know the ethics of borrowing a detail from another pattern. But I also don't think that I'm going to write a pattern for this star sweater. This one I think I'm trying to just do for fun. So we'll see. But yeah, I think I'm going to do this edge detailing. And I'm excited to keep working on it because I think this time I'm finally happy with how it's turning out. Okay, the last thing I'm going to show you guys, because at the beginning I said I might show you my crochet project, and I've decided that I'm going to, just because I forgot about this one in my video where I was talking about my whips, like the first video. Just because this is a very long-term whip. I started this in early last year, like January 2024, and all of this progress was made almost immediately, but it's the Persian Tiles blanket by Janie in the sandalwood color. I bought a kit for it just because I was looking into getting the yarn separately and my brain couldn't comprehend how to assemble a color palette for this, so I just bought a kit. Um I have a few of these little tile done. I think this one's my favorite one so far. I stopped in the middle of this one and I made one little square. uh, each one of these little tiles takes me 8 hours. So that's why I kind of stopped working on it for now. And also, I have all these ends, which I haven't even begun to consider. As I was working on it, I did try and like tuck them at the start of my. Is that what you call it? Anyway, I don't know. I'm not very good at crochet. Well, I'm not as good at crochet as I am at knitting, and this has been a learning progress. This has been a learning process. You can see that I was very loose in this one versus this one, and obviously, in my opinion, it looks better here than it does here. And at the very end, I might go back and re crochet this one just because it might bother me that it's a little looser, but we'll see. I'm really excited for how it will turn out, but obviously, I have a lot of work to go. And this one I'll have to finish. And also, I'll have to look back at the pattern and figure out which round I was on. Anyway, thank you guys so much for all of your support on my podcast so far. And if you like this video, give it a like. If you like me, you should subscribe. And you can comment what you're working on. And I'll see you next time, whenever that may be.